Hello everyone, my name is Daniel and welcome to episode 15 in our Devlog series. This past week has been filled with a ton of development and just getting everyone and everything on the same page and updated. So the main things I did this week was just updating the water shader to fit our project, and then also updating the overall engine just to get the newest and best features the engine could provide. Bright and early on Tuesday morning, I started doing a water shader. I thought that the previous water, it fit for prototyping and just getting the overall feel and just trying to water in the game was okay, but I really did not like how it looked in the overall theme and just the art style we're going for. So I spent quite a bit of time on Tuesday and a couple of days later on just finishing this water shader and just learning what shaders are and just expanding my knowledge on them. That's mostly what I did on Tuesday, not really anything else, but the water shader did take up a majority of my time. Thursday was the next time I could work on the project, and it was a pretty bothersome day because I tried to bake and improve the lighting to not make it look so generic in Unity. So when I tried to bake the lighting, it crashed multiple times towards the end of the baking procedure, which took a couple of hours each time I tried. So I spent the entire day trying to do that, and after it crashing the entire day, I decided to update Unity to 2018.4.19, which is just one step over the version we were using, because I couldn't really update to the 2019 version because it gave me over 999 errors. So I decided to just update it and just take a step at a time, and it still occurred and the crashing just never stopped. So I decided to use their outdated Enlighten Light mapper, which it didn't look the best, but it got the job done. And in addition, I spent a ton of time really solidifying what the game was going to be and what it's going to focus on, and just giving the main character some depth and just understanding of who he really is. So I guess that's one positive that came out of this entire day. After I did all that characterization for the main player, I also spoke with the most of our team just to reinforce what the game was going to be in phase 2 and just what I wanted to get done that phase. So overall that day was pretty annoying, but I did get some very important stepping stones for the future done. Saturday was actually the next day I worked on the game. Friday I took a small break, but that night I was watching some videos on Unity's new input system, and I really enjoyed the way it worked and how it all came together. So I tried to use it in 2018 that night, but there's a couple of bugs with the new input system, so I couldn't really do it in 2018. So on Saturday morning I just decided it's time to bite the bullet and update to 2019. And once I finally updated, it did give me a bunch of errors, but most of them were easy and it just required an update to the packages we were using, but others were more complex and required some rewrite of the code. Once finally getting that all done, it worked like a charm. The first thing I did was actually update the lighting again, and it worked amazingly, and just the lighting looks so much softer and just overall better. And I also started rewriting our scripts that handled the player input to work with the new input system. The new input system was definitely the way to go because it simplified the amount of code we needed and just made the code so much easier to read and just look at. So I'm really happy that Saturday worked out the way it did because it was a huge stepping stone in just making the whole game development process just more streamlined. So after getting Unity updated on Sunday, I decided to just start setting up the new input manager and just getting it all to work so much better. I had a couple of bumps I ran into because I removed something called continuous, which was really useful, but there was a couple of workarounds that were super easy to do, so that wasn't really the biggest issue. But yeah, Sunday I mostly just set it up so you could play with the keyboard and play with the controller, and it was just so amazing just to sit down and play my game finally with the controller. And this was the very first time I ever set up controller support, so it was kind of like a really important milestone for myself. The last time I worked on the project this week was on Monday. I added back blocking and re-implemented priming the bow. I did this and it took me quite a while, well, more time than I thought it would take, just due to the amount of refactoring I needed to do, because I realized our old input manager and just logic was really outdated and really messy, and I kind of wanted to follow this new rule that the programmer and I was talking about, which was the rule of 4, where you try to keep your functions to about 4 lines or less, which sounds really hard, but the readability becomes so much better when you look back on it. And I'd recommend anyone to try it out if they can. But yeah, that's all I really did that day, and hopefully we're gonna have a ton more progress next week. I have this new feature I kind of want to implement, but I don't know if I want to spend more time on adding new features or just try to get into phase 2 right now. But we'll see next week on what I do and what I really decide to do, because it would be a really interesting feature, but if I can't get it to work, I don't really want to spend too much time on it. But that's all I really have for this week. The last thing I do want to say is that I want to thank Inconspicuous for being the very first Patreon supporter. He pledged $10 and he gets to name an NPC in the game. So if you guys are interested in naming a town or an NPC, go into the description and support our Patreon page. It really just supports the game. We take all the money we get from there and go straight back into the project just for you guys to enjoy. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. Hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.